What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's watch list time for Game Week 9. So I usually do this video at the end of the last game week, but I thought with the international break, I just call it off for a week, do some other videos, different content, and then think about the players that I wanted to put on the watch list. So I've got 3 players in this one to talk about, quite popular players, I would say. And I think the aim of the watch list video for me is not necessarily to always put on players I'm 100% going to bring in, because that's not the point of a watch list. It's also to talk about players that maybe other people are considering as well, and talk about why I might put them in, why I might not. And hopefully that gives you some things to think about, because I know a lot of people probably think I put this up, I'm never going to bring those players in, but that's not the case. I am thinking about them, but also I think it's good for you guys to hear my opinion as well. If you like my opinion, if you don't, that's great too. If you enjoy the watch list videos, please do hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's jump into the first player. So Jamie Vardy up first, and I'm at a little bit of a crossroads with my team, not quite sure where to go or which direction to take. I could go Kane to Jamie Vardy, keep that structure in place, keep that kind of higher price forward in my team, or I can go the cheap striker route, maybe put some more money into midfield. I'm not quite sure about which way I 100% want to go, which is why I've put Jamie Vardy on the watch list, because he is a genuine consideration. Now, I've looked at Leicester as a whole, as a team, their underlying numbers. They currently sit 9th for expected goals from open play. Just 6.51, right? And they've scored 18 goals. That's triple that number. And obviously a lot of them have come from penalties, not just from Vardy, but Tielemans has scored a couple as well. And when you look at XG with penalties included, so overall expected goals, they're 13.62. They're actually third. Now, obviously, if they can keep winning penalties, great. They've already had more this season than they had last season. So at some point, that might dry up. And I always think you shouldn't knock a player who scores penalties in FPL, right? Like I talk about Bruno Fernandes and how if Man United don't get penalties, maybe he won't be as good an option as Rashford. But obviously he does get penalties, and when they do that, you can't knock that, right? That's the whole reason we sometimes buy these players. In fact, every single player on my watch list today is a penalty taker, and it's definitely worth taking into consideration. So just because they've had 8, and that's more than last season, doesn't mean they're now going to get none for the rest of the season, right? That's not how it works. But at any point for any team, it could dry up a little bit. So that is something that I'm considering. And I think for anyone that's looking to wildcard potentially, maybe that Liverpool fixture would put you off. And I still think it would put me off a little bit, but it's not now maybe as bad a fixture as it used to be or has been for the last couple of seasons. Van Dijk's injured, looks like Trent's out for 4 weeks. Robertson apparently has got a hamstring strain, although I think that's just going to be a kind of international break injury. I think he'll be back, and obviously Gomez is out long term as well. So Liverpool aren't now a bad team, right? Liverpool's defence could be Milner, Matip, another centre-back, whoever it might be, and Robertson. That's quite strong. At least three experienced players in that back line. We don't know when Fabinho's going to be back yet. It could be Nat Phillips or anyone like that, right? Alongside Matip. But Matip's experienced, so is Milner, so is Robertson. So it's not the same back four, but it's certainly not a bad team. And obviously their midfield's still the same. The front three is still the same as long as Salah's back fit. So I still think Liverpool's a difficult fixture, but maybe not quite as bad as it once was. And Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, and Brighton at home are decent fixtures after that. In fact, you could potentially look at captaining in game week 10 and 12. In both those weeks, Salah and De Bruyne, they kind of rotate quite well. I've spoken about that a lot over the next few weeks. So you could use one of them if they've got the better fixture. But there's a bit of a differential, right? And I know Vardy's ownership is quite high, but as a captain differential, I think it will still be quite low. So Fulham and Brighton could be pretty good options. And if you want to get Kane back, if that's your strategy to get rid of him but bring him back, obviously having Vardy in, it's just a one swap move. Okay, it's a little bit of a difference in price, like 0.7, 0.8 million, but as long as you hold that in the bank, you can just do it in one move. Whereas if you put that money into midfield, you then have to move the money back, which is definitely something to consider. So I like the look of Vardy. I think his underlying numbers is something like 2.5 expected goals from open play, which isn't amazing, but it's not awful either. He's had 15 shots in the box, which is I think is in about the top 10. So again, it's not awful. 10.1 million is a lot of money, right? Maybe we should be expecting more, but with penalties in his locker, the fixtures to come, I can't imagine that Leicester from open play don't kind of step up the amount of chances they're creating, especially with those fixtures. So I like him as a captain option, definitely worth considering. So here we go. It's Bruno Fernandes on the watch list. And I think, look, I know the comments I'm going to get. You've talked about not having him all season. You didn't think he was a good option. I don't think that's fair, right? I've never said he's a bad option. I just think for the price, there was better ways to spend that money throughout the season that we've had so far. And I don't think that's really backfired too much. I also think that without penalties, and obviously he takes them. I've just said that for Vardy. If we get penalties, then great. We shouldn't knock the fact that he has them. But if Man United go for a run of games, like let's say between West Brom, Southampton and West Ham, they play 3 games and get no penalties in those games. I do genuinely think that Rashford, if he's fit and available, could potentially score the same or even outscore Bruno Fernandes because his goal threat from open play is better. But Bruno does have penalties. Man United do get penalties, and the next 3 fixtures are pretty good. So they're one of the reasons that he's on my watch list, because I wasn't really considering, because I already have Rashford, but Rashford might be injured, and also we don't know if Salah's going to be back either. I could be going into Game Week 9 with both fully fit, or I could be going into Game Week 9 without either of them, and at that point I probably will consider putting Bruno Fernandes in, because I think Salah's a fine captain option, and maybe I could just go straight to Mane, but I was looking to captain Rashford, so if he's missing, or Salah's out, then I might look to bring in Fernandes. As a short-term punt, probably, I don't think that I would necessarily go for him now as like a season keeper or a 10 to 15 game week hold. But I think for the next 3, he could be okay. And I'm kind of not against, but I try not to do short-term moves. But certain situations, i.e. international breaks where everyone seems to be getting injured or testing positive for COVID, maybe it's a good time to do some of them. So we'll have to wait and see what the press conferences say, but I'm generally considering Fernandes now. Would I double up with Rashford? I'd probably try and avoid that for the most part. But again, for the next 3 fixtures, especially West Brom, it's probably not too bad a thing to do. Now, I still worry a little bit about Bruno Fernandes, right? In terms of chances created, he's right up there. In terms of goal threat from open play, he's not anywhere near a lot of the players in the league. I think he's 53rd or something like that for non-penalty expected goals, which is pretty poor, right? There's a lot of players that are higher than that are going to score more goals from open play, etc. But in a season where Man United have not been playing that well, he's still got over 6.6 points per match, which is pretty crazy. And obviously last year it was a little bit higher and we had to pay less for him. So we are having to pay a bit of a premium now. But being able to keep up that rate for so long, at some point you have to just turn around and say, maybe it doesn't matter that the open play goals, etc. are not there, or he's not likely to get them. Even though, don't get me wrong, he's just scored 2. I get that. But as a general rule, that's probably not going to happen. He's only had 7 shots in the box. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he's going to be one of those players that just keeps getting points. He's got set pieces. At least while Tellez is still out. And yeah, he's got penalties and stuff to fall back on. So 6.6 points per match is pretty damn good. Not quite as good as what he had last season, but still, nevertheless, really good. And I'm not worried about home or away form or anything like that. It's too early to be worrying about that kind of thing. West Brom at home is not a hard fixture. I don't care what Man United are like. That is a good fixture for any team in the league right now. And for Man United, it's decent too. And hopefully they'll stick with the 4-2-3-1. They've got a bit of control in midfield with Fred and McTominay. It's obviously helping players like Bruno Fernandes go forward, Martial, etc. So I think it looks good. I think a lot will depend on the situation with Salah. Like if Salah's fit and so is Rashford, I probably wouldn't look to bring him in. But if something goes wrong there or somewhere else in the team, then I'd definitely consider it. So is Ollie Watkins now the greatest Premier League striker at the moment? Probably not. But is he still a good option? Yes, I think he probably is. He scored 6 goals, 1 assist in 7 game weeks. That's 1 return every single game week. That's pretty impressive for anyone to do, let alone a 6.1 million forward for Aston Villa. Now, I've spoken about quite a lot this season about Grealish and how last season Grealish created a lot of chances, which he's still doing. But he had like Wesley and Samatta in front of him. And Ollie Watkins actually looks like a player that can put the ball in the back of the net, which is quite a big thing when you're a forward. So that's why I'm looking at him as well as the fixtures. Now, there's a few worries about, the fact that he scored 5 of these goals against Liverpool and Arsenal. I'm not too concerned about that, right? That can happen. Players can score a couple of goals in one game, then go a couple of games without a goal, then score 1, then 1, then 1, then blank, and whatever, right? Goals don't necessarily come 1 every game like we'd like in FPL. And I think given the fixtures, he's probably worth a shout. The only one right now who's definitely fit, who I'd consider instead, is Bamford. But for the same price or a similar price, I probably would just go for Watkins right now because he's got better fixtures. Now, Bamford's fixtures are not bad, and in Game Week 12, they get really good as well. But right now, I certainly would look at Watkins. I already own Grealish and I own Martinez, so some people would never double up, would never triple up. And one of the reasons for that, I guess, is like if Grealish got injured, not only have you lost Grealish, but Watkins has lost his supply. And also in Game Week 16, I think, was when the fixtures end. Not end, obviously, but the good fixtures end. Then you've got Grealish and Watkins and Martinez all getting bad fixtures at once. But I'm not too concerned about that because for the next kind of 6-7 game weeks, I've got really good fixtures, plus one's a defender or goalkeeper, the other two are attackers. And maybe I want to keep Grealish because of the value and I want to move Watkins on, and then I'm only left with one later on. So I'm not really too concerned about that. And I think the next few fixtures, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves away is probably the most difficult one from an attacking point of view. Then Burnley at home, West Brom away, and Palace at home. So really, really good fixtures from game week 9 to 15. And he's a 90-minute man and he takes penalties. And that is a huge thing, right? We often talk about players that are not nailed on, are they still worth it? You know, maybe in the past, like Harvey Barnes, but he's only going to play 60 to 70 minutes. Watkins is on the pitch the whole time, and he's got penalties, and they're going to win a few, I'd say, with Grealish on the pitch as well, given how, you know, all the trickery and stuff like that. Defenders find it hard to get the ball off him. So I really like the look of it. I'm very much a fixtures man, and I think it's close between him and Bamford. But if I'm going for a cheap striker this week, I think it probably would be Watkins just about. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed the watch list series up to now, or just in particular enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. We're still getting over 1,000 likes on every video, which is absolutely incredible. It's continuing to help the videos get out to other people, increasing the channel growth, and it's just awesome to see. So thanks very much for all your support. And of course, hit that subscribe button if you've liked it, and the notification bell so you know when all the other videos and live streams are going up as well. Big shout out to everyone that signed up at patreon.com/letstalkfpl. There is a link in the description for that. So everyone that signs up for that basically gets on the Legends wall. So big shout out to everyone that's up there. And if you want to check that out, there is a link in the description below. There's like Slack access, WhatsApp access, early team reveals, all my videos converted to podcasts, all that kind of thing. If that's something you want to get extra, or also just to support me and the channel so we can grow it even bigger, then that would be much appreciated. Link in the description below. And of course, this tash is not on my face for no reason. It's supporting men's health through Movember. So if you want to make a donation to that as well, if you've got a bit of cash laying around, there's a link as well to that in the description below. The description below in YouTube videos is amazing. There's so many things down there. You should definitely check it out. I'm going to leave that one there. I'll be back tomorrow for the team selection video. Please do hit the like button on this one. Hit subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another video.